As the Iraq war has worsened, some senators who voted for the war have now come out against it. One of them is the now very frustrated senator who's calling for a very, very serious course correction is actually blasting the Bush administration. That senator being Republican Gordon Smith of Oregon. He had this to say. Late last week about Iraq. Listen Listen to this.
I, for one, am at the end of my rope. When it comes to supporting a policy that has our soldiers. Patrolling the same streets in the same same way being blown up by the same bombs. Day after day. That is absurd. It may even be criminal. I cannot support that anymore.
So if the U.S. Policy were in fact criminal, who might be held accountable. And joining us now, Republican Senator Gordon Smith of Oregon, Senator a powerful emotion statement. I know coming from your gut, coming from your heart. Why the about face?
Well, if you have the privilege of representing one of the United States. And you have a voice and a vote. Now is the time to speak up. And I felt duty bound to say what was on my heart. And to describe how this war had mutated from one thing to another. From taking out a tyrant and a terrorist and ridding him of weapons of mass destruction and establishing democracy to now being street cops in a sectarian civil war. That's not what I voted for. that is not what the American people are for.
So you concluded this is now a civil war in Iraq?
I have concluded that. You know, this is a fight, when you get right down to the root of it, between Sunnis and Shias that goes back a millennia of time over who is the rightful successor to the Prophet Muhammad. That is not our fault. That is not our fight. And that's not something we can fix.
Was there one issue, one thing that happened that pushed you over to deliver this remarkable address on the Senate floor?
Well, I've read a number of books recently that got me thinking and stirred up, and then I woke up Wednesday, I believe it was, to the news that 10 more of our fighting men and maybe a woman, I don't know, but they were killed again in another roadside bomb, and I just simply hit the end of the rope, if you will, and I felt I had to speak up, because if these sacrifices are being made in pursuit of a policy that cannot succeed, then we need to admit it and readjust in a way that the American people and our soldiers find worth the sacrifice, and this is not.
You used the word criminal in that statement, a very sharp, pointed word. If, in fact, some of the actions committed by the U.S. were criminal, who should be held accountable? Well,
if you'll read my remarks in context, I was clearly speaking rhetorically, not in a legal sense. But I find examples like when the British generals, day after day in the First World War, would send thousands of their men running into machine guns and not make adjustments. I find that criminal. And when we send our young folks out in vehicles that cannot take out these, or rather accept these kinds of blasts to them without taking their lives, I don't find that smart, and I find that very derelict in duty. Moreover, if you think we should be going out and fighting them, you have to answer the question whether the insurgency that this has become is worth doing. If you say yes, it is, then you have to adapt your tactics. What we are doing, and I have seen this with my own eyes in Iraq, what we are doing is sending them out from the green zone, clearing, and then retreating back to the green zone. Now, I got to tell you, that doesn't make any sense if you're fighting an insurgency. History will tell you to fight and win insurgencies, you have to clear, hold, and then build. So you build confidence in the people there so that they become the foot soldiers. They root out the terrorists, and they ultimately fight for their freedom. It's not our country, it's theirs.
So let me repeat the question. Who should be held accountable for what you believe has now become, and I'll just use a word, fiasco or disaster or some word along those lines?
Well, I think all of us with positions of responsibility are accountable. But clearly, I can't be quiet anymore. I'm leveling this charge at no one man or woman, but I am clearly saying that the American people will and should hold us accountable. So if you got something to say, now's the time to say it. Either let's fight the war intelligently for an objective that is obtainable, or let's admit it and figure out how to preserve the lives of our soldiers.
Because morally speaking, if you do conclude it's futile right now and that a year from now it's not going to make any difference what the U.S. does, that the situation is still going to be a sectarian civil war, your words, is it moral to keep U.S. men and women in harm's way and let another 1,000 or so Americans die over the next year if it's going to simply wind up exactly, if not worse than it is right now?
It is not right to do that. Let me also add, though, that we have an ongoing interest in prosecuting the war on terror, a fight from which we can retreat only at the peril of our own nation. There are ways to reposition on the borders of Iraq to take on terrorist jihadists from Iran, Syria, Saudi Arabia. And these are the people that we want to fight. That is our fight. And ultimately, that is a very important fight for our country, for our sake, not just for Iraq.
Knowing what you know now, and obviously with hindsight we're all a lot smarter, if you had to do it over again, knowing there no WMD in Iraq, no Al-Qaeda connection, knowing 3,000 Americans were going to be killed, $400 billion spent, $2 billion a week, would you have voted for that resolution to support this war?
As I said in my floor statement, had I known there were no WMD there, I would not have voted for it. But I do want to add that I believe it's a good thing that we remove Saddam Hussein. I think there would have been other ways to do that without the cost in life and treasure that our current approach has led us to.
One final question, Senator. Do you think President Bush is, as his critics charge, still in a state of denial?
You know, what I say in sorrow, not in anger. President Bush is my friend, and I know he agonizes day and night over this issue. But he has a very determined streak in him, and yet I have to believe he knows, with the Iraq Study Group and what others are saying, that the time is now to rethink this and reposition the American war against terrorism.
Senator Gordon Smith, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.